The classical Ottoman army was one of the largest and most effective militaries during its time period. The classical Ottoman army can be divided into three major sections: the Kapıkulu soldiers, the Ilahiyat soldiers, and the vassal soldiers. In this video, we will be looking at the Kapıkulu soldiers, or the Sultan's household troops, which were made up mostly of recruits from the devshirme system, the Ottoman blood tax used during the 14th to 17th centuries. The Kapıkulu were the first modern standing army in European history, and they would form the backbone of the Ottoman military. Unlike the rest of the Ottoman military, the Kapıkulu were the personal property of the Sultan, and they earned a direct salary from the Ottoman state. Being founded during the reign of Sultan Murat I, the Kapıkulu soldiers would go on to serve the Ottoman military for over 4 centuries on 3 different continents. The lowest rank of Kapıkulu soldiers were the Acemi order, made up of boys between the ages of 8 to 18 and who were enlisted by the devshirme system. The Acemi order served as a training ground for fresh students entering the Ottoman military, or the Ottoman bureaucracy. Upon entering the Acemi order, one would be converted to Islam, be circumcised, and be given a Islamic education. Once reaching a proper age, a Acemi would either be promoted to serve as a regular Kapıkulu soldier, or be sent out to get further education in order to become an Ottoman bureaucrat. Probably the most famous unit in the Ottoman military, the Janissaries were the elite infantry troops of the Ottoman Empire. Being the heart of the Ottoman army for over 4 centuries, the Janissaries were equipped with various different weapons such as swords, maces, axes, daggers, clubs, yatagans short swords, halberds, and, in later periods, firearms. During battles, the Janissaries were often deployed in the center of the Ottoman army, being used as support troops to other Ottoman infantry, and often as shock troops to break through enemy lines. Being made out of 196 battalions, the Janissaries were divided into 3 major sub-corps. The Jemaat Janissaries were deployed and stationed on the frontiers of the empire and consisted of 101 battalions. The Bölük Janissaries were stationed in Constantinople and served as the Ottoman Sultan's personal army. They consisted of 61 battalions. Lastly, the Sekban Janissaries were deployed as paramilitary forces, serving as policemen in towns and cities around the empire. They consisted of 34 battalions. Their uniforms consisted of a white borg headpiece alongside a colored tunic ranging from such colors as red, pink, green, yellow, and blue. The Cebeces were an Ottoman military unit assigned to keep maintenance over handheld weapons and ensure the transportation of such weapons during military campaigns. The Cebeces were also entrusted with the transportation of ammunition in later periods, and served as an integral part of Ottoman supply lines during wars. They were divided into 96 battalions. The Topçu order were the artillery crew units of the Ottoman Empire. They were responsible for the production, storage, and use of cannons during wartime. As well as being the mechanics of the Ottoman military, the Topçu order also performed craftsmanship duties during wartime. The Top Arabacıları were tasked with the transportation of cannons during military campaigns, often using wagons or animal labor to do so. They were divided into 63 battalions. The Humbaracı order were the mortar crew and grenadier units of the Ottoman army. During battles, they were tasked with manning mortars and throwing grenades towards enemy lines. The Humbaracı order were also the first grenadier and mortar units established in military history. Their uniforms consisted of a long black headpiece with many different types of tunics. The Lağımcı order were the sappers of the Ottoman military. They were tasked with demolition projects such as destroying bridges and digging tunnels underneath fortifications during wartime. They were most famously seen during the sieges of Constantinople, Rhodes, and Vienna, mining and detonating bombs under enemy fortifications. The Sakallar were Ottoman military units tasked with providing the army with drinking water and bath water. Also, they provided fruity drinks for Ottoman viziers and Ottoman sultans during military campaigns. The Kapıkulu Sekban were the Ottoman military units that made up the entourage around the Ottoman Sultan and accompanied him during hunting expeditions. The Payıks were an Ottoman military unit tasked with the job of sending messages back and forth between Ottoman commanders and the Ottoman Sultan. Trained from an early age, the Payıks would undergo intense physical training and diet, and it was expected that an experienced Payık could walk approximately 16 to 18 hours non-stop with a stable speed of 7 to 8 kilometers per hour. It was an obligation for all Ottoman citizens to give water and food to Payıks during his trips around the empire. In later periods, the Payıks were relegated to a ceremonial role, only accompanying the Sultan during public appearances. Their uniforms consisted of a tall yellow headpiece with a yellow tunic with a sash. The Solaks were military units equipped with bows and arrows and served in the Ottoman Sultan's bodyguard during imperial ceremonies and wars. They were tasked with keeping everybody away from the Sultan, even his private servants. Their uniforms consisted of a tall headpiece with a feather on top with a colored tunic. The Bostancıs were responsible for the security of the Sultan's palace and usually assigned as palace guards. In rare circumstances, the Bostancıs would also serve in the Ottoman military during times of war. Some of their other duties were the maintenance of the royal gardens and orchards in the Topkapı Palace and as constables within the cities that they were stationed in. Their uniforms consisted of a red biretta cap, alongside a red or blue tunic. The Baltacıs were also palace guards like the Bostancıs, but they only served alongside the Ottoman Sultan in the capital city. They were responsible for carrying the Sultan's throne during imperial ceremonies and festivals, and guarding the gates of the divan. The Baltacıs were equipped with long axes, and their uniforms consisted of a plate hat with blinkers and a colored tunic. The Mehdi were the military band of the Ottoman military. They would accompany the Ottoman army during times of war and parades, and they were made up mostly of older janissaries. Playing war music during battles, the Mehdi band is estimated to be the oldest military band in history. With each band consisting of 45 members, the Mehdi were equally divided into 5 sections: 9 davuls, 9 zurnas, 9 knockers, 9 cymbals, and 9 horns. The Sultan's Kapıkulu troops also consisted of 6 cavalry divisions. The Silahdars were the Ottoman Sultan's sword-bearers. They were in charge of the Sultan's personal arms in addition to being a close confidant and advisor to the Sultan. The Silahdars would often stand right behind the Sultan during imperial ceremonies and during times of war. During later periods in Ottoman history, the Silahdars would also gain significant political power and in some circumstances even become Grand Viziers. Their uniforms consisted of a red bork headpiece similar to the Janissaries, with a plain colored tunic. The Kapıkulu Spies were the elite cavalry force of the Ottoman military. Being stationed at the rear guard of the Ottoman battle formation, the Kapıkulu Spies served as the bodyguard unit for the Ottoman Sultan and Ottoman Pashas during times of war. Like with all Kapıkulu units, the Kapıkulu Spies would receive a salary directly from the Ottoman state, but unlike other units in the Kapıkulu army, they would also receive fiefdoms near the city of Constantinople. Serving the Ottoman state for more than 4 centuries, the Kapıkulu Spies formed a rivalry with the Janissaries as they were the most loyal to the Ottoman Sultan in all affairs, so much so a common phrase developed between Ottoman statesmen: "A mounted soldier does not rebel." The Kapıkulu Spies were equipped with various items such as plated mail armor, chainmail, round shields, swords, composite bows, arrows, lances, maces, and axes. The Yüfeciler were an Ottoman medium armored cavalry unit that was split into 2 divisions, the left Yüfeciler and the right Yüfeciler, with the directions corresponding to the flank that they were positioned in battles. Positioned on the flanks of the Ottoman battle formation, the Ufaciler during military campaigns would also protect the royal treasury, royal standards, and supply wagons of the Ottoman army. Being more lightly armored than the Kapıkulu spy cavalry, the Ufaciler were often used as support cavalry accompanying spies along the wing of the Ottoman army. The Garipler were an Ottoman light cavalry unit that was split into two divisions, the left Garipler and the right Garipler, with the directions corresponding to which flank that they were positioned in during battles. Positioned on the far flanks of the Ottoman battle formation, the Garipler were used to flank around enemy lines during battles. The Garipler were stationed in villages and towns near Constantinople, Edirne, and Bursa. They were equipped with long spears and shields. During the course of Ottoman history, the Kapıkulu became more and more of a political class within the Ottoman state. In later periods of Ottoman history, the Kapıkulu wielded immense political power over Ottoman statesmen and even the Sultan himself. During the 17th and 18th centuries, the Kapıkulu soldiers would depose dozens of Grand Viziers and a good number of Ottoman sultans in order to protect their special status within the empire. After falling behind European battle tactics and technology during the 18th century, the Kapıkulu soldiers were seen as a liability by the Ottoman state and they were dissolved by Sultan Mahmud II at the beginning of the 19th century.